This session, to me, is very relevant and pertinent in the new context also, right? And having Dr. Marilyn Maze as a speaker is always a pleasure, right? I think in today's session, for all the students, parents, and educators who are part of today's session, I think what we'll get to understand is how do we look at interest, skills, and maybe workplace effectiveness. If I'm correct, Dr. Maze, right? We will also be you'll also get to probably understand an expert's take. And trust me, today's speaker is someone who's a computer science graduate by education. She still codes. She is someone who's developed the first product in the profiler for ACT. And this is much, this is an era where your parents were in school, right? We are speaking to an authority. We are speaking to a very large-hearted mentor, someone who is one of the main reasons why we are here or what we do. Right. With this, I would also like to, so it's for me, it's important, and I think it's special having Dr. Maze open up for us. I would also like to recognize 3 amazing ladies who will be supporting or volunteering in this session. We've got Gauri. Gauri is a sociology and a graduate with philosophy as a subject, and is currently pursuing law, right? We have Shreya. Shreya, if we can have you on the screen also.
Yes, sure.
Shreya is a design student. And we have Debrati, who's a design graduate. She's got a very, very different set of interests. The 3 would be assisting or volunteering in the session, right? Over to you, ma'am, and I'm sure people will have an enriching experience with you. So how would you want, you have the right, sharing rights with you. Would you want the 3 ladies to be part of to have their cameras on now, or would you want us to join in a little later, as in switch on our cameras?
I think that the time to join will be a little bit later. I'm trying to get my screen to go into full screen at the moment. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, good. Right, I'm going to try one more thing.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. All right. So thank you for joining me, and I very much appreciate having a panel with me. And what I'm going to ask the panelists to do is to actually share your experiences. Today, I'd like to give you an experience, not just a instruction. So I'm going to ask you to participate very shortly. Let me do a tiny bit of introduction, and then I will get into the experiential part. I want to talk to you about one of the theories in our field of career planning. It's called chaos theory of careers. And this theory talks about, first of all, complexity. And when they talking about complexity, they're talking about individuals who are each unique and each have specific skills and strengths. And that's, of course, everyone who's listening to me today. We also, in chaos theory, talk about chance, chaos in the world. which we have just experienced with COVID. I think even though people may have said, oh yes, someday we're going to have a pandemic, I don't think anyone actually said, okay, we're going to have COVID. So there's these chance events in the world. We all know about them. Car accident, somebody becomes ill. Somehow your life changes. You meet somebody and your life changes. You are offered a new job and your life changes. So these chance events actually have a lot of impact on our career. Now, in my field, which is sometimes called career planning, you might say, how can these two things go together? How can you plan the future when chance plays such a big part? But chaos theory would say what we are planning is to take advantage of chance so that when chance happens, we can then take advantage of it and move forward in a way that is useful for ourselves, that is going to satisfy our own needs as well as the needs of society. And so we're constantly looking at change. Change is happening all the time. We're always aware of changes in what's happening in the world. And we're looking for ways that we can use the change and become stronger through those changes. So this is a theory called chaos theory of careers. And I think it applies during this current situation where all of us have been a little bit surprised and perhaps our plans have changed in some ways. I want to talk to you about a theory. This was developed by John Holland, who passed away about 10 years ago, but I had the pleasure of knowing him fairly well. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for his theory. He actually started during World War II interviewing people who were drafted into the Army. And his job was to figure out what to do with these young people. And he found out, to his surprise, very quickly, that he could put almost everyone into 6 different categories, that only 6 was required to classify people in a meaningful way that would help him with finding the right place for them. And this particular theory with only 6 categories has become very popular in the United States and is used for most career libraries today. Now, I have to apologize that this graphic that I picked, this was something I chose from the web and I did not create this. This was designed by people in the health industry. So all of the examples, every example on this table is from the health industry. And of course, there's a lot more to the world than health. But I chose it because of the words in white. The words that are written in white are actually very accurate and stay fairly close to John Holland's theory. So let me invite you now to consider this an assessment. One of the things John Holland discovered was that anyone can assess themselves, and the results are very similar to having taken an assessment. So I'm going to invite you to begin assessing yourself, and I'm going to talk to you about the first type. And my question is this you or is this not you? And in the end, I'm going to ask you to find your top 3. And of course, for our panelists, I'm going to invite them to actually tell me what their top 3 are. So your top 3 in order of importance to you. So the first type is the realistic type. This is a person who likes to work with things. They like to work with tools, machines, or animals, something that is real, tangible, and they can interact with it in a physical way. And they like to be competent. They like to develop competence in working with these things. So these people enjoy mechanical challenges. If something breaks, they like to fix it. They like to solve problems which are practical. The next one. This one's called investigative. These are people who are usually found in science and math. They like those subjects in school. They tend to be cautious and very critical thinking, always trying to find exactly the right information. They like working with things that are tangible, things that are in nature, as opposed to working with people. They tend, now this is a generalization, but they tend not to prefer to spend their time with people in general. They're driven to understand the world. They want to know how it works. And so this is their major concern. How does the world work? And they like to be independent, work alone, and solve problems using their mind. The next type is artistic, and it's hard to add to that word. I think that word has so much meaning for all of us. They're definitely expressive people who like to be creative. They like freedom. They do not like schedules. They like to work usually in the fields of math, or of music, art, and writing. Of course, the health people have put a few occupations which are in their health industry also, just to make sure we don't think you can only be an artist in this field. Their personality values originality and self-expression. The next one, social. This isn't just a person who likes to be with people. This is a person who likes to help people. They want to solve people problems. They focus on the problems of the people around them. So you find them most often in education, social services, and health care, taking care of other people in many different ways. They tend to be idealistic, kind, friendly, and generous. They like to talk about, especially problems with each other's problems. And they prefer being verbal. They like to analyze things by talking about them. The next one is called enterprising. The people in this field tend to gravitate towards business, finance, and politics. They enjoy power. That's important to them. They like to be able to influence other people and to have authority over other people. They like to be rewarded. They want to take risks and then have very good rewards for those risks. They also enjoy the fields of management and persuasion, trying to convince other people to see things the way they see things. They enjoy working with people. So these are also people person, but when they're working with people, it's with a concept, with a goal of influencing and perhaps changing the way the person thinks, persuading the person to think the way they do. So once again, verbal skills, but this time not for analytics, not for understanding what the person is saying, but for persuading the person. The next category is conventional. These people like to keep things organized, and they become agitated when things are messy. So they tend to be found organizing things for us, just perhaps for their own sanity. They don't want to have a lot of messiness in their lives. And they are most comfortable when there are clear procedures, when they know what to do in a situation. So when change happens, they tend to begin by trying to figure out what are the procedures for dealing with this new thing, which is a problem. Okay, something new is a problem, and we need to solve it by having good procedures and good rules for dealing with it. So this is a preference for keeping things in order, for clarity, unambiguity, and for established procedures. And these people tend to be very good at creating procedures which solve problems. So they have a really important skill in our society. Okay, let's put these back together again. Which one are you? Now it's not one, it's your top three. And consider, I want to just talk for just a minute about the relationships. Notice that the realistic person is good with things. The investigative person also likes things and likes to understand them, take them apart. The realistic person is mostly interested in fixing things or solving practical problems, while the investigative person wants to go a little deeper and see how it really works, what's really behind the surface. But they're very similar. They're next to each other and they share a lot. And most often people will share these two categories. I mean, well, if they're one, they will share one that's on either side of them. The next one, the artistic person, is very similar to the investigative person in that they enjoy ideas and they enjoy trying to understand the world. But the investigative person is doing it in a scientific, logical way. And the artistic person is trying to be expressive and creative and is more interested in feelings quite often and conveying feelings than in trying to be completely logical. The social person is like the artistic person in the sense of working with the world and trying to understand the world, but the social person is focused on people problems. The enterprising person likes to be with people, so very similar, but the enterprising people likes to lead people because that's how you make progress. And the enterprising person is concerned with progress and with authority and with forward movement and making things happen. The conventional person also likes to work with making things happen and to move forward, but they want to do it in an orderly way and they want to create order in the world. Now, of course, in this chaotic world, there's a lot of work for people with this characteristic and this desire. The conventional people tend to be similar to the realistic people because they tend to think about details. They tend to like being able to see things that need to be fixed. And for conventional people, those things are quite often finance or words on a page. They're very specific things that are tangible, but not tangible as in animals or machines, tangible as in data or concepts that are written words. So there's a lot of similarities between these types, but there's differences across types. So if you want to find people that are very different from each other, take the conventional person and compare them to the artistic person. These people will be quite different. The conventional person would prefer things to be organized. The artistic person likes chaos and likes to express themselves and perhaps very often in messy ways. The enterprising person wants to organize the world and lead the world to a common thought, while the investigative person wants to understand and study the world. The social person wants to work with people and to solve people problems, while the realistic person wants to work with things. They don't really want to work with people. So you see that this design is very carefully set up to show traits which are close to each other and traits which are far from each other. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot be both conventional and artistic, but it does mean that if you are both of those, you will constantly have both sides of yourself to think about and to appease. You'll have some parts of yourself that need to be on one side at times and on the other side at other times. So it's very interesting. Okay, so let's ask our panelists, which are your top three? Debrati, do you want to come first? Panelists,
Yes,
please
sure,
turn your
ma'am.
videos on. Yeah, let's get everybody with your videos on. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Debrati.
Hi, it's so relatable, to be honest. I felt so excited, like literally. So I chose to be realistic, artistic, and a social person because I like tangible things. I have affection towards people and like animals. So yeah, and I like realistic, like the most of the time. I like things like which are like there I like tangible things, obviously. So yeah, I would choose to be realistic. Then yes, as you told, artistic people are like pretty much expressive. They're creative and they don't like schedules and don't like schedules. I'm a bit messy and chaotic, and I find fun through it. So yeah, so I would choose myself to be artistic as well as social. As I am social, as in the sense I like to communicate with people. I'm pretty much communicative, verbal with my things, and I like to analyze stuff, and I like to solve friends' problems and everything. So yeah, I'm kind, giving as my friends tell me. So I find this three particular fields to be my expresses myself.
And which one do you think is first for you?
Realistic.
Realistic. Okay.
Yeah.
So you think that in your career, you want to work with things that are tangible. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
And have you found any careers that would fit?
That's first of all, I am doing currently photography and videography as well as designing. These three things, like margins, that thing, like whatever I am trying to fill, right? Like I can help people through these things. So yeah.
That's very good
I am
because
reaching out to people. Yeah.
you're taking the art, which is part of your personality, and you're combining it in a realistic way, which means that it will then be tangible for the rest of us to see. This is actually a really hot field right now. I mean, graphic design is very hot. So congratulations, you found a great place for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shreya, can you talk now?
Yes, ma'am, sure. So I would initially like to begin with ranking my top three. So the first one would be artistic. As I'm a visual communication designer, I am in semester 6 right now. So artistic vision comes very initially to me because I like to design, I like to create stuff that is more oriented toward people, towards like solving the problems of the people that are in the society. Or even by designing, we can give a lot of information. We can be a lot more communicative towards people. I think so. Design is my primary ranking. Then the secondary would be investigative because I like to analyze things. I like to ideate. I like to observe because all these things are a primary base for design. They lead you there. So even problem solving is my secondary forte, but not the primary one. And then the third one would be enterprising. Enterprising is not the core one, but I somehow relate to enterprising because as you design, you basically influence people, you persuade them, and performance is the key to that. So the top three would be those.
Very insightful. Great.
Thank you.
So, and you've already found your career, right? You're primarily artistic. Yeah. Very good. And so you're trying to understand the world, and your art helps you with that, but also there's other challenges outside of art, right? You also need to understand a lot of other things too, and then using those in a persuasive way. This is a great combination. And because you have taken things from different sides of the map, I think of this as the world of work map, but because you've taken things from different sides, you're going to have that uniqueness, that unusual combination, which is so valuable in the workplace. You will find as you go through life that you have skills other people don't have because they don't combine all those different characteristics together. You've got the the investigative and enterprising, which are opposites, right?
Yeah.
So those things fighting inside of you for expression, sometimes you'll want to choose one and sometimes you'll want to choose the other.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's important to recognize sometimes that we have these opposites within us, and it's not really a battle. It's really like sometimes we express one and other times we express the other. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's great. Okay, we have one more panelist. Let's see. That's Gary, right? Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. I think my top three would be artistic, social, and enterprising. So my day job is as a writer and a public speaker for inclusion awareness. That does require some sense of artistic abilities to be creative in terms of expression. in terms of public speaking, you need to be able to connect with people, hence social skills. And to influence them to create a change, enterprising skills are also required.
Great. Wonderful. And that's interesting. So you put those in the order of artistic, social, and then enterprising, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Great. And that's great insight into yourself. You have chosen half of the world of work map, which is a very common thing. Many people find themselves on one side. And of course, there's 6 sides, so it's easy to move. I mean, there's many combinations. This is not like people are similar. People are very different from each other, but your combination is one that is very constructive and builds on each other because the skills that you are using are close to each other and work together.
Yes.
So, and what have you chosen for your career? You tell me again.
I work as a writer and a public speaker for creating awareness towards disability inclusion.
Great. Okay, so you have found a great way to combine several of these different categories which are in you and to express them in your work. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is great. Well, I am hoping that everyone in this audience has an answer to which 3 are you right now. And thank you so much, panel, for doing it. I'm going to really quickly talk about how these things relate to the future. We know that computers are taking over a lot of jobs that people used to do. We sometimes call it artificial intelligence. And in fact, I see that word used more and more every day, trying to explain how tools, technology, is going to be useful in the workplace and take over work that other people have done. So my question then is, what's left? What are the machines not going to take over? And where should the young people who are listening focus their energy? Okay, number 1, technological expertise. If you have those skills to understand technology, you will never be without a job. We will always need new people in technology as designers and inventors of new technology. We will need you to develop new technology for us. You know, we're taking everyday machines or things like a cell phone and adding capability. I mean, who knew that a cell phone could also be an instrument for personal health and could check your pulse and how much you've walked in a day? But the cell phone can do those things. So adding these different devices together and putting them all in certain combinations make them more valuable to us. And developers are doing things like that by combining technologies and understanding how technologies can be useful in ways they weren't intended to be used. There's also expert users, people who teach others how to use things. There's teachers who give us skills in using technology. For example, in industry, every company which makes some kind of technology has to employ people who are called customer service experts to teach people how to use those products that they deploy. So there's a lot of people who are using teaching skills in an industrial setting, trying to help the company sell its products. It's a little different than you might think of when you see the word teacher, but it's using technology and helping others use technology. And then, of course, people have to repair the technology. So these things will never go away. There will always be jobs in these fields. The next one is artists. We all want when we're not trying to analyze or find a solution to a specific problem, we want joy, we want beauty, we want to sit back and enjoy life and appreciate life. So we're always going to look for beautiful objects. We're always going to look for lovely graphics and be attracted to them. And we're always going to want entertainment and people who are creating vibrant images that we can't forget and that educate us through pictures. And we're going to want performers who are willing to use their bodies, their voices, their minds to give us new ways of seeing the world and appreciating the world and giving us beauty through music or however they are performing. We're talking about sports, athletes are performers also, and they're using their bodies to perform. And when we watch them, we are amazed with what they can do. And that sense of amazement is part of entertainment and performance. Another thing we will always want from people are human services. We will want people to be our teachers and our trainers. We will always need managers. No matter how efficient we become, the workers in an organization need to be managed. We need people to take care of us when we are sick or as we get older. We need other people who are willing to take care of us. There may be robots to do some of that work, but there will always be a need for human beings. We need people in hospitality. When you go to a new place, you want a smiling face to welcome you. When you go to a hotel or to a new event, you need people there to help you find your way and to orient you to this new place. And we need service jobs. We need people who help us by washing hair or cooking food or, many, many kinds of service. They can't all be done by robots. We're going to need many people in those fields for I think as long as we probably are alive. So how does that work with the world of work map? Are we going to lose some of these positions on the map? I don't think so. I think every person is going to find that they are still needed. Every one of these types is still going to be needed. The people who like to deal with fixing machines or working with animals or working with tangible objects, we're still going to need that. I mean, you can't have animals without having people to take care of them. It's not going to work to just do robots with them. Investigative, we're still going to need the scientists. We're going to need the scientists even more to understand the world as it becomes more complex. We have so many problems right now with the environment. We have scientists who are trying to do things like find plants that will grow in the new climate and that will solve some of our climate problems. Insect resistant plants and things like that. So you have scientists constantly helping us cope with the complexity in life and the chaos. We will still need artists, like I pointed out. We still want beauty in our lives. We want people to express themselves creatively so we can appreciate that and enjoy that. We still need teachers. You cannot take young children. We have discovered during COVID, you take young children and you use just technology to teach them, and some children will be lost. They just really need people there to help them and to guide them and help them grow. And in spite of COVID, we have gone back to a lot of teachers working one-on-one with children because we found how important that is. Enterprising, we still need corporations. We still need to make products. Corporations will always be looking for that new product, that new service that they can offer and they can do better than any other one and get the customers to flock to them. We need people to put things in order. No matter how much information we can get on a chip or on a hard disk, we're still going to need people to take the materials and get them into the computer in the first place, and then to store them, to find them when we need them. We're going to need people to create order in a chaotic world. So all of these jobs, all of these types will be there in the future. The future is not going to force us to abandon our personality type. Okay, I'm sorry, I went through all of this and I had slides for all of it. Okay. I'm just going to summarize what I've been saying. Work will change. And change is accelerating. Every day there's change, and change is actually getting faster all the time. So we know that the workplace will change. How we do a job will change. When I was in college, I used a typewriter. I had to type every letter. I am so grateful that computers now have taken over that, so that when I want to correct something, I don't need to get my little white paint and paint over my mistake. I just love to be able to erase mistakes. have them go away completely. So the way we work is completely different today, but it's still the same kind of work. We're still doing those things. We're just doing them differently. We can't predict the future. Chaos happens. Things change, and sometimes they change in ways we can't predict. We have no idea. A lot of the jobs we did yesterday are not really that important today. Many of jobs are becoming obsolete. And what's important is that the people who held those jobs before are getting their skills improved to deal with the new technology. Upskilling is very important. And it's as change accelerates, upskilling becomes part of our lives throughout our life. So we used to go to school and then work. Now we can't do that. We go to school, we work, we go to school, we work. We have to keep upskilling. We have to keep learning. And sometimes we go to school and sometimes school comes to us, but we have to keep changing and keep adapting and keep improving our skills and constantly looking for new opportunities and developing that new idea, which is going to make us more special and more in demand than anyone else. So this is the end of what I want to say to you. Oops, let me see. Please, do you have any questions?